Before we start, I want to definitely shout out an event that I'm excited for, which is the BeatStars Award, the first annual BeatStars Awards. Our special guest today is actually nominated for a BeatStars Award, actually in the same category as I am, which is well, it's unfortunate that eventually we're gonna have to arm wrestle or something, but that's all going down on January 10th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, BeatStarsAwards.com. That's this Sunday. So tune in. It's all going to be live. It's an actual awards ceremony. They're not just going to announce the winners. There's a whole awards ceremony. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's another example of how BeatStars actually gives back to their community of users, and a big reason why I'm where I am right now is because of this guest today. We thought we were just going to talk about making samples and selling beats, but I might get emotional. So live from a tropical climate is my friend. You know him. He's a upstanding member of the producer community for sure.
Appreciate
his name is Dream Life. How are you feeling, man? You hopefully don't say that you're not feeling well, because you're in a sunny climate. There are like monkeys. I've been where you've been. There are like monkeys running around, and it's dope.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. Look forward to getting into some useful stuff today, hopefully.
Yeah, your connection's a little rough right now. I don't know if there's a way to improve it.
Yeah.
I didn't hear any of that.
Damn. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that sounded better. I don't know if you changed anything.
I didn't change anything. Let's just keep our fingers crossed and go for it.
Okay, cool. So let's get right into the good stuff then. Let's celebrate what went down in 2020. I know a lot of us are recapping 2020. A lot of it's negative, but what are some accomplishments from last year that you're proud of?
I think more than anything, and like you said, a lot of people, it's easy to see 2020 in a negative light, and there's a bunch of things that happened that I didn't like personally as well around the world. But from a business perspective, and as a producer, it was really a time that allowed me to really focus on my craft, and in specifically working on the sample lab, getting as much sample packs done as possible. Working with as much new collaborators as possible. And working with known collaborators like yourself and Memory and those guys really allowed me to just focus on the music. And I think at the end of 2020, I can say that helped me a lot. Like, I probably made more music last year than I've ever made in my life. So I would say that's the main thing. From a creative perspective, it was an incredible year. There was some good placements that came out of it. And yeah, I mean, like everyone else, it was a massive test. But hopefully this year will be better in that perspective.
What are some of the placements that stood out for you? Because I mean, these aren't minor placements. I think you're being modest right now.
Yeah, no. So my favorite placements, I mean, the Nas joint with the Vintage Vandals and Stack Selector was a massive one. Nas and Joey Badass, just because I don't think those guys have been on a record together before. And like you said, I think it's you, and I'm quoting you here, the legend of New York collaborating with the kind of upcoming new legend of New York. And it was a beautiful record. So that was a great placement, and definitely a feather in the cap. After that, I really liked I got a Young Jeezy record, and back in the day, and still a massive Jeezy fan. So that was a big one for me. And I really like how the record came out. So Ghetto is the record featuring E40. I did the the melodic elements of that beat. And yeah, I like how it came out. And then we did a Russ record, as a sample, but just the song added. So I thought that was interesting, and I like the way the record came out in the end. So I would say they're the main 3 records that I really enjoyed being a part of last year.
So Nas and Joey Badass, Russ, and then Jeezy and E40, top 3.
Yeah, and in terms of songs, those are, yeah.
Those are good moments, man. Those are, I mean, I'm not going to downplay a Jeezy place like that.
And the other thing that I enjoyed about it is that, I'm getting placements with other people that I really like working with as well. It's really nice to work with people over the course of like 2, 3, 4 months. You're just in the lab cooking up, and then finally, 1 or 2, 3 or 4 of these joints that you've worked so hard on end up as records on major placements. It's kind of nice to be able to share that with people that you work with on a regular basis.
Yeah, I want to talk about all of that. Just me being emotional. I would not be where I am right now if I hadn't met you.
Appreciate it, man. I could say the same. I could definitely say the same for sure.
But I'm not gonna get in too deeply. But just at a surface level, maybe I'll talk to you about this at some other time. But on a surface level, going to the first A3C BeatStars Summit, and just being in that space, because I was not a believer. Abe and Mike were trying to make me a belieper. They were trying to explain.
At that point, you weren't a believer.
No,
I thought you pulled it off well. It looked like you were believing at that point. I gotta be honest.
No, that's when I became one. So you saw it happen, and it was because of you and everybody else in the room. But it just being around people that were doing it, producers that were doing it, and that were so ridiculously talented, it just changed my entire perspective. So I really appreciate that. But it's not just that you did that for me. I want to talk about another situation. So way back, I don't know how many years ago, you emailed me and you asked me if I knew any guitar players, and I said, yeah, my friend Memory plays guitar on a lot of my beats, and he had been for years.
Right.
And I forgot, it was because you needed a guitarist on some samples that you were making back then?
I was just basically starting to really get into cooking up samples at that point. And I had a few guitars that I worked with, but it was more of an in-person thing where I was traveling to a certain city and I knew the guitarist there. And I just wanted to work with a few more people remotely because I'm based in Panama, so I'm not based in the States. So flying up and going to all these different cities is just not possible sometimes. So I hit you up, and I think there was a couple of beats that I heard from you where you clearly had a guitarist playing on them. Yeah. And I heard them, and I thought, I'm pretty, Payne's got the plug. So yeah, that's when I hit you up about Memory.
Yeah, so I just gave you his contact information, and then next thing I know, I talked to Memory. He's all overwhelmed because you asked him. I think you paid him to do like 50 samples or something. But anyway, the point is,
it was a crazy first batch. It was a lot of samples in the first batch. Yeah.
But I had been trying to get him to focus, because that's my close friend. Like, I really care about that guy. I've been trying to get him to focus on music and believe in his ability to turn music into a career for years. And all of a sudden, he's making music for a living as of last year. What did you hypnotize him? And I hope he's watching this, because I want to bring him on and to talk about this change, because it happened quickly. And I think there's something. It hit me that I was sitting around trying to damn near begging him to focus and see his true talent and see his true potential. But at the same time, I went down to A3C thinking I can't sell beats online. And then
Right.
you were a big reason for that. And then all of a sudden I introduced Memory to you, and suddenly he's making a living off of music, and he has a Cadillac and all this other stuff. So what what is it about your work ethic that's inspiring people? Is it some kind of like Panamanian magic? What is it?
I don't really know, man. To be honest, with Memory, I think I don't want to say luck, you know, because it's so easy just to say luck. But Memory's sample packs just sell really well. Like whatever he plays on, he has a sound that that other beat makers really identify with. You know, it might be, I can't put my finger on it exactly, but it's sort of a mixture of how he layers his guitars, the types of chords he uses, the melody lines he uses, sort of blessed in terms of the melodies that he comes up with. So that's got a lot to do with it. And you know what I've always done with Dream Life Beats, the brand Dream Life, is I make kind of a specific beat. I don't make a beat that appeals to everyone. It's kind of underground, it's soulful, it's kind of boom bap. And so I've had to work very hard at figuring out how to get my beats in front of people that like that specific sound. I can't just put a beat out there that's universally accepted. I have to market my stuff. So, you know, over the last 6 or 7 years working on Dream Life now, kind of figured out how to do that and applied that to samples. So I can take a sample pack from Memory, for instance. For example, he has a series called Solar Expressions, which is all really deep melodic soul and funk guitars with a lot of sort of emotion. And it's a very similar dynamic to the type of beats I make, which is why I identify with that sound so well. And basically just using similar marketing techniques, using similar techniques to get his music in front of those people. And likewise, you know, when we make a sample pack, you know, and whoever releases a sample pack on the Sample Lab, getting it in front of the right ears. So I think it's more to do with looking at selling music online from a technical standpoint, rather than me trying to be all inspirational or saying it's like an energy thing. I think it's just literally looking at the raw data of how to market music on the most practical level, and just investing money in it and doing it. I think that's kind of how it is.
So we have a bunch of comments coming in, and I just want to showcase this because you actually spoke to this as it was coming in. And this is another piece of advice that you gave me, because when I first started on BeatStars, I was thinking the same way. I believed in this narrative that everybody wants a very specific kind of music, a very specific sound of beat. And because most of what I made wasn't in line with what was in the top 5 on the Billboard charts, I couldn't sell beats online. And you told me, no, that's not true at all. And you made me think about what style of music I really enjoyed making and what I was best at. And once I started just making those beats and putting them out there, people who wanted that sound started gravitating towards me. And that was a lot easier than me saying, all right, let me try to do what Cash Money AP is doing. I can't snatch the crown off his head. I can't snatch the crown off any producer's head if they're already established. They have their lane, and so why would I want to compete? And you opened my eyes to that. So how do you feel even today? Because you hear this idea all the time.
I just think that's a massive, massive thing for producers starting out. And it goes back to the most basic level of like, find your own sound and run with it, run it into the ground. It really goes back to that. And again, it's, you know, you don't want to be a jack of all trades. You know, that saying, jack of all trades, master of none. You want to master a sound. And basically, you find the people that like your sound, and they'll find you as well, rather than trying to make something, like you said, that's like a Billboard smash. There's people that are lucky enough that naturally make great Billboard sounding big productions. You know, these guys are probably all millionaires. that naturally do that, right? That's just the way it is. You know, us underground hip hop heads we kind of go in a different lane. So very early on, and like you, Payne, as well, I got to say, when I first started selling beats online, I was the same. I was trying to make trap. I was trying to make all these genres that I really well versed in. And honestly, the action I got from comments on YouTube, from sales numbers, from just general public, showed that these beats really aren't good enough in this genre for me to get recognized for doing them. So I kind of ran that into the ground. And I was like, yeah, this isn't really working. Let me just make beats that I want to make. So anyone knows, and everyone chat and watching this now, if you focus on the sound that you love to do, you could probably knock out in a couple of days really easy, because it comes so naturally to you, right? And honestly, I think the general public can feel that and hear that in the music. And you can tell when someone's forcing this about you. But if I hear a beat and I'm like, yeah, this guy is nice melodic, but you can tell it's not that natural. I think beat by it as well. And you know, the same for sample makers. People that buy sample can hear if that's your natural genre or not. So that's kind of the thing. And the thing to think about is, do you really want to spend your life making a genre of music that isn't you just to be successful? Because that's going to get boring really quickly.
And that's if you do get successful, but chances are, like you said, people are going to hear that it's not where your heart is. And so this gentleman is basically asserting that each platform has its own style. And while I agree that Chillwave is popular on YouTube, a beat that you and I and Dirtboy co-produced, which is a Rick Ross type beat, went viral and has surpassed 1 million views over the last year. So I can't read what he's saying and agree, because all three of us, well, it's two of us now, you and I are living, breathing examples of a contradiction to what he's saying. So, hey man, I'm not here to convince you that you're wrong. I'm just here to tell you that that's not my experience. So anyway, let's move on to just talking about collaborating, because you know the beat that went viral was a collaboration between me and you and another producer. The stuff with Memory, that's a collaboration. Vintage Vandals, that's a collaboration. You and I have never butted heads about splits. I don't believe you have with anybody that I know. It's always been even splits.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And you know, working with other people, there have been moments of contention where we're arguing over splits and who deserves what, and you just did the drums, you just did the sample, blah blah blah. What influenced your philosophy of fairness when it comes to music business? You always approach situations with even splits in mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how I feel about it, man. There is people, like you said, that will try to argue about splits and get a better percentage or whatever. I just prefer to just even splits and move on to the next joint, man. You know, for me, music business is not fun. Honestly, I do not find any part of music business fun. I've got to be honest with you. So I'm not the type of guy that's going to sit here and be on Instagram DMing a guy that I've just got a placement with, like trying to get a better percentage. Like, it's just, I want to first. I'd rather just, hey man, look, we've got both of our energies to this piece of music. And I feel like, you know, if I didn't have your input on this music, it probably wouldn't have got to where it's to. So for me, that's enough to say even splits. That's just the way I look at it. And obviously people look at it in different ways. And, you know, you could spend your whole career arguing over splits, right? But it's just not, for me, it's just not time. It's not a good, not good time management. So
sure.
Pretty simple. Yeah.
So you do a lot, and I think that's the reality for a lot of producers, and it's a reality that a lot of, I think, newer producers don't either accept or expect. I mean, I certainly didn't think when I decided to make music full time and quit all of my jobs, that I was going to turn into a social media manager, customer service representative, logistics manager, YouTube personality. I thought I was just going to
You
make
name it.
music. So
Yeah.
you do a lot. I mean, you make beats, you engineer, you make samples, you handle accounting for your sample company, you market your
Yeah.
beats, you market your sample site. There's a lot of stuff that you don't do. So what are some parts of
Yeah.
your business that you just started outsourcing and why?
Well, yeah. So basically, a couple of years ago, I started outsourcing all the artwork for my beat selling business, Dream Life Beats. I've been doing it for like 5 years. I made some decent designs, but for me, it was always like every time I sat down to do graphic design, I was like, man, now I got to do all these cover design, make beats, or I'd rather like jump in Facebook ads and try to get a new ad set popping. Instead I was like sitting down and trying to work out Photoshop and all that. It got old to me just because from a time management perspective, I didn't feel like it was a good return on my investment. So I started working with a really cool guy out of Germany called Peasy, who actually works with the crates as well. So shout out to him. We don't work together anymore, but the time I was working with him was great. And yeah, I basically outsourced all my beat selling graphics to him. So he would design ads for me that I'd upload to Facebook ads on IG. He'd do all the cover arts, on BeatStars. When you upload a beat, you put the cover art, and his stuff was great. Got really good feedback on it, and yeah, it went fantastic. From there, we've moved on slightly, and I scaled back a couple of months, and he started working with my brother, and he got out of his 9 to 5 to start doing that for me. So I got him on board with my businesses. He does the graphic design for the sample lab as well. He does some cover art design, which we'll probably talk about a bit later on, and basically kind of does all the admin stuff. All the stuff I really don't want to do, I'm like, I'll chat to my brother and be like, please, can you help me with this, bro? And he's more than happy to get on board, pay him a salary, and it's a beautiful thing. So it really is.
So chasing placements, it can be a rough pursuit, and sometimes it can be also really rewarding, and sometimes it can be frustrating. You've been getting some good placements as a sample maker lately. I mean, separate from all the collaborative stuff. And on Monday, when the breakdown of the Nas record we did aired, we couldn't answer live questions, but Bufo, who's here now, asked a question, which is
we're here live today. Yeah,
we're here live now. I don't think anyone knew we were pre-recorded last time, so people were probably asking questions and getting really frustrated that
I think Bufo did. I think Bufo worked it out. He asked you to scratch your head if it's live, and you didn't scratch your head, so he
okay.
He's on to live.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching it happen, and I felt so helpless. But he asked the question: would you prefer, as a sample maker getting a placement, do you prefer to be treated as a collaborator and co-producer, or as an artist that's being sampled and then you go the sample clearance route?
I've got to be honest with you, man. It's pretty cut and dry for me. The samples that I make and that I release, I don't release them as songs in the traditional sense. So they're not on Spotify. Some of them are on YouTube for marketing purposes. The public doesn't really have access to just...
hold on, it got really crazy right now. I don't know if you can shift your laptop or something.
Let me try. Hang on. I'm going to keep gibbering on, and if it sounds... Is it better? Am I here?
It sounds better now. I think it just comes in and out.
I think it's going to be like that. If it cuts out, just give me a sign and I'll wait until it stabilizes. Where did it cut out? What was I saying? I can't remember.
I'll ask the question again. So as a sample maker, do you
Yeah.
prefer getting a placement as a co-producer or as someone who's being sampled and then you're clearing the sample?
Yes. Yes. So it's kind of, I don't release my sample packs at the moment as songs that people would be able to stream online. People wouldn't be able to buy my sample packs on iTunes to listen to on their iPhone. So a lot of the time when people are sampling my stuff, it's from a sample pack. So I feel like an entirely different dynamic than me sampling James Brown on a song that I found in the store that's been, 30 years, 40 years, right? More. So I feel like we should be treated as collaborators. That's my point of view on it. I work with really good producers that I love working with, that I would continue working with, that see it differently. And I'm happy to work with them and sort of see it from their perspective as well. But personally, if I was going to use someone's sample and I made the beat, and I got a placement with J. Cole, they'd be on the track as a collaborator. That's just how I see it. So that's kind of how I think, and I'd prefer to be treated that way, to be honest. Like I said, I work with both people that like to do that, people that prefer not to.
And you just like that because of your concept of what a modern day sample pack is, or because it's just a smoother process? Because with the sample clearance, I feel like with sample clearance, you're in a better position in terms of negotiating because they have to clear it with you.
True.
Whereas if you're a collaborator, it's just kind of less formal and the label doesn't really have much pressure to appease you.
I think, and so I actually had this on the Jeezy record. A really dope producer sampled from one of my sample packs that he bought from the sample lab. And he was good enough to hit me up, before they did the whole sample clearance thing. And he was like, hey man, do you want to be on this record as a collaborator, or do you want me to go through the label to clear it? He asked me, and I kind of broke it down to him, what it would mean for him as the producer. And he preferred to go the sample clearance route. Obviously, there's a lot of specifics, right? The sample clearance fee, for example, isn't going to come out of the producer's pocket. But then if we went the collab route, then we'd split the advance, which would come out of his pocket. So there's a few financial things to talk about. And then the other thing is, if you collaborate with someone on a frequent basis, it's probably better to do it as a collaboration, I think, from a relationship standpoint. But if this person has just bought one of his sample packs and he buys loads of sample packs and he just happened to land one with your joint, he's like, all right, let's just clear the sample. No matter how you look at it, if you get in that position as a producer, it's a good position to be in. So it's not like you're really going to be fighting, to split ends at the end of the deal. As long as it's fair for everyone involved, you kind of go, all right, let's get the lawyers to get in contact with each other and let's close this up.
Yeah, understood. Because with the Russ placement that we all got, that was a sample clearance scenario, whereas the Nas record, that was not a sample clearance situation.
Yeah. So with the Nas record, it was literally, as we mentioned, Stack Selector hitting us up, wanting us to replay a sample which would have been complex to clear, and us trying our best to do it, not quite getting there, but him using a load of our stuff anyway. So it was a little bit of a different dynamic.
Here's a good comment. Shut the fuck up and use instruments then. I don't know if that's directed towards us, but that's a good point that he makes. And let's talk about that. So I feel like nowadays this sample library, sample creation thing is the new type beat, in the sense that a lot of producers see it as a gold rush. Like, a lot of producers are rushing towards sample creation because they feel like that's, a less saturated way of maybe getting placements. And, we've run into each other in New York, for example, and you were out there working with session players to create these sample
Yeah.
packs, and you know, you're not just the guy that programs a melody and runs it through Grossbeat and calls it a sample pack. Tell me about
Right.
that process of working with instrumentalists, of actually composing music and giving it to the multi-instrumentalists and creating something from there.
Yeah. Okay. You came through a bit choppy there, so hopefully I'm clear. But yeah, basically, when I create that, there's two. In my opinion, there's two different types of sample makers. One type of sample makers that focuses on loops. These are normally 4 to 8 bar loops. Generally, you can find these types of loops on Splice. So those guys do really well. There's another type of sample maker that focuses on samples that actually sound like full songs. So, if any of you guys have bought a sample pack from the Sample Lab, like some of our samples are like 3 minutes long with like different parts and different instruments. And when we sit down and make these samples, we're trying to make it sound like this is a record, so it's not just 10 8 loops, it's 10 samples that are between 1 minute and 3 minutes long. So it's two different types of loop makers. And I think when you are trying to make samples that are from the perspective of trying to make a song, I think musicianship is really important. I don't think you could loop an 8 bar loop in 2 minutes length and make it interesting enough for it to be called a song. Whereas when you start to work with session musicians and people that can really play live, you get a lot of creative input from them that I think makes the sample more authentic. So I work with a lot of session musicians from that perspective, but I don't really do it from a business perspective. I do it just because I love live music. I love live instruments. I love live instrumentation. And it's just something that's really close to my heart, and I've always liked it. So naturally, it's just going to be part of my business and part of my sample business. So that's kind of what we like to focus on.
So one of the producers that you collaborate with a whole lot. Well, let's talk about two of them actually. One of them is Elite over at Dreamville, and another one is Static Selected over at Static Selected. So how did those relationships start? How did you start working with them so regularly?
Yeah, so Static Selected was kind of a lucky one. I just hit his inbox with a bunch of samples I made, and I think he hit me back, and he was kind of like, "Oh, these are cool. Keep sending them." But I remember him saying he wasn't really that into them. I think I just sent him the wrong batch first, and I sent him a completely different flavor, and he hit me back, and I think he flipped every single one that I sent him. So that was just literally. I hate saying this because I don't like to. I'm not an advocate for cold emailing, but I've done it before. It works sometimes, right? You just got to be respectful to whoever you're emailing. So kind of spammed him, and he liked the samples, and basically built up a relationship from there. I've been to visit his studio a bunch of times. I've worked with him in person. We've gone out and had a drink in New York, in Brooklyn, and he's just a real cool guy to know in the music industry, and a good guy to work with. So yeah, that's how it is with Static. With Elite, I actually met him through a friend of mine, someone that was on BeatStars, that I helped out, that introduced me to J. Cole's engineer, and J. Cole's engineer introduced me to a bunch of people that produce for Dreamville. So that was kind of a cool one, because I think he just hit me up and was like, I need some advice on my beat store, and I must have been in a really good mood that day, and I broke it down for him, and it kind of led to a lot of other situations, like working with Ari Lennox. And actually, I was in the studio with Ari Lennox and the guy I helped out on BeatStars too, which was a major blessing and was really cool. So yeah, that's how I met Elite, and he's just another real cool guy. Like Static, very, very down to earth and very easy just to bounce ideas back and forth with. So I'm definitely looking forward to work with both of them a lot more this year.
Cool,
Yeah.
man. Let's talk a little bit about BeatStars, BeatStore marketing then, since you brought that up. You market your beats a lot, and I feel like
Yeah.
I think we all are, whether we admit it or not. But I feel like you're still in a stage of testing and seeing what works.
Yeah.
Because what works last month might not work this month. So how did you learn, first of all, to use these ad platforms? And what are some of the mistakes you made when you first started advertising your beats with either Facebook or Adwords, so that anyone watching this can maybe avoid some of those missteps and save themselves some money and time?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing is like there is like you just said, there's a great deal of experimentation that needs to take place for you to figure out how to consistently sell beats. And especially to the point where you make a living off beats, you're going to need to mess around with, in my opinion, every single marketing source that you can think of. So I actually started out on SoundClick. I'm not active on there now, but oh man, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, I just started on SoundClick and did a little bit of promo. I had a bunch of beats up and it worked. And the more I saw it working, the more I was like, oh man, like, yeah, I've got to spend money marketing my music. So my marketing sources have changed over the years. As I said, it started on SoundClick, then on YouTube. Now I'm more active on Instagram and Facebook. But I think all of these platforms depend on what you prefer. As someone, I prefer Instagram over everything else. Just that's my personal taste. And so you want to start marketing on the social media sites that you like. So, and I think they're all as good as the research you want to put into them and all as good as the money you want to spend on them. And I think the major thing to keep in mind is like free marketing is limited. Like there's only so much you can do with free marketing. If you're intelligent and know how to work it, you can definitely keep doing it. But I think there's definitely a ceiling on it. And actually a really good example of this, I was thinking of this morning, was I get tagged by artists on Instagram all the time that use my beats, and I really appreciate it. But I'll often have it where the same artist tag me 3 times on 3 different posts, like a couple of hours apart, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know if it's the same post or if it's 3 different posts. So I go to the IG page, and it's normally 3 different uploads of exactly the same video. It could be a picture of the art, and like,
Hold on, I think you're about to say something super important, and then it cut out.
with
It's so bad.
Am I back? Am I back?
You're like Keanu Reeves right now. Say something again.
Yo.
Okay, you're back. You're back.
My bad, guys. It's the hotel. I'm in a hotel right now. It's hotel internet. If I'm back and if it cuts out, let me know. So what I was saying is, yeah, the example that I use is an artist tags me. Artists tag me often on IG. They upload the same thing a couple of hours apart 3 times. So my whole thing is like, instead of this guy uploading the same thing 3 times and tagging me in it, he could upload it once and promote and put $10 behind it to promote it. And he'd get a bunch of interaction on that one post he did. And from reach on Instagram, for example, just you put bucks down, you're going to reach literally thousands more people than uploading for free. And that's it. So that's kind of.
This is my sign when you're cutting out.
Ah, damn.
I don't know what this is. Yeah, this is Star Trek, right?
That's Pharrell.
Okay, so yeah, every time you see Pharrell, that means. It sounds like you were encouraging everybody to to rather than serial. And I see artists doing this all the time. I don't see producers doing it so much, but I see a lot of recording artists who are promoting a song. They will just post the same thing over and over again, and slowly, like they might post it on Monday and it'll get 100 likes, and then they'll post it Monday night, it'll get 60 likes. They'll post it Tuesday, it'll get 40, and by Friday it's getting 3. because people just are sick of it, and that actually isn't a good thing to do, because Instagram starts limiting your reach because they're
It
seeing
starts
how.
punishing you. Yeah. Yeah, it will start punishing you. And so, like I said, you're better off just to post it once and do a promo boost. We're literally where you can press the blue promote button. That works, at least for engagement. It probably doesn't work too well for sales. It can, but it will definitely get your video in front of more people. And $5 goes a long way, you know, especially if you're an independent artist and you want more of your followers. I know it's crazy. We've got to pay to get our music in front of people that already follow us, but that is how it is. So yeah, that's kind of my point. Just the point of me saying that whole thing that was kind of drawn out, my bad, was the difference that just spending a little bit of money on your own music makes. It makes a world of difference.
Yeah, so that I'm glad you said that, because some producers will use the boost option or the promote option and not get any sales and say, okay, this is all bullshit. But like you said, that probably won't lead to sales. So when do you think a producer should start considering running ads on their beats, and what kind of ads do you think they might find some success using?
Yeah, so I think a producer can start running ads as you know, as long as you got a decent catalog. I'm talking at least 30 beats. You know, you got a reason for people to go to your page. I think you can start using paid promotion. Thing about paid promotion is it's not a magic bullet. And I think something that I thought when I first started out was, oh man, I'm going to just spend all this money on Facebook and get loads of sales back. And it just didn't work out that way. I had to spend money on it. I had to build an audience, build lists, figure out what type of ads work and what ads don't work. And then it changes every month. You know, things are really weird with the algorithm sometimes. So just flicking the switch in my head and saying, look, man, you're going to need to spend at least, you know, I think back in the day, it was like, you're going to need to spend at least $300, $400 a month to get your music into enough people's ears that you might be able to start making some money off this. So from the job I was working at, I literally budgeted myself from my 9 to 5. I buy like $400, $500 a month. And whether I made it back or not, it was kind of like it was the compromise that I made to try and do this. So I did that for like 6 months, and it started to work after a while, but I definitely had to spend a lot of money up front to get it to work. I'm not saying that is going to be the case for all you guys, because man, you might even hit the nail on the head first time. Who knows? It might take you longer. But yeah, I would be using paid advertising. If you have a product to sell, like Facebook is pretty much now solely designed to sell your product. It's an advertising platform now. So that sucks from a social media perspective, because I used to like Facebook. But from a business perspective, it's pretty cool. And there's definitely sales to be made on there.
Let's talk about other platforms then. Let's talk specifically about YouTube. We both have a love-hate relationship with YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, you know, because we're talking about paid advertisement, and there are producers that have never spent a cent on ads, and they're making more money than the two of us combined off of beat sales, because somehow the gods of YouTube have smiled upon them. And I envy the producers who upload three beats a week and get 100,000 views on each one. How are you dealing with YouTube right now? It's changed so much. What is your current strategy, or do you have one? Is it still kind of crazy?
It's definitely kind of crazy, man. I'm still kind of trying to work YouTube out because it changes so often. I can tell you that I went through a stage of being that guy where whatever I uploaded in a certain keyword was ranked number 1, and that was actually beats with hooks. And so I had all these beats with amazing hooks from Brianna Marin, and I'd literally just peg right to the top of the keywords. I didn't need to do any promotion on them. They've all got over 1 million views, all the videos that I uploaded in that short space of time where YouTube just liked my stuff. And the sales followed as well, because if you're ranked for one of those keywords, it's gonna work out for you. like we've seen Rick Ross
Yeah.
track that you got ranked for. So you can upload beats, and YouTube is. We could make a whole video about YouTube, but in a nutshell, you want to try to hit the same keywords over and over again. So for me, I like beats with hooks. I like Rick Ross type beats. I like Nas type beats. I like Joey Badass type beats. So that's what I try to focus on. All the uploads that I make try to hit at least a few of those keywords every time. And I find doing that, people that are into the music that is related to those keywords subscribe to my channel, and then are more likely to visit my channel. And on the other hand, if I started uploading like a Cardi B type beat every so often, it might put off a few of the people that are really into that sound. Not that it's a bad idea to experiment. You should always experiment. But I've just been very laser focused in the sound of my YouTube channel. And I think that helps with ranking. And I think you could probably say the same thing. I think you are normally aiming for like soulful type beats, Rick Ross type beats, and you've seen results doing that. So I still do that to this day, but man, my YouTube channel is it's dying a slow death. I got to be honest with you, it's not getting ranked for stuff like it used to. I've got to work way harder to get stuff ranked just because YouTube likes freshness. So I guess it finds these new guys that are making incredible music that people are engaging with and wants to rank them. Kind of like Dream Life Beats has had his time in the sun as a YouTube channel. Let me bring someone else up new. So what I've started doing is literally targeting specific videos to run my beat ads on, and I get a lot of sales doing that. So I'm doing paid advertising on YouTube, and it works. So it's just about kind of dealing with the fact that, all right, I'm not going to be able to get a free ride off YouTube anymore, but YouTube has a system where I can rank on people. I can be shown before these highly ranked videos if I pay a certain price for it.
Yeah, I don't know why this guy who never mind. There's one guy in the chat that just keeps posting information that is discouraging and wrong. But it's good to see people challenging that, because there's a lot of bad information on the internet, and anyone can make an assertion. I can tweet right now, YouTube is dead for selling beats. Obviously, if that's my experience, I might actually feel that way. However, Oh Boy is a clear example of YouTube not being dead for producers, and he's someone that was on here. So I would encourage everyone to be careful about what they say and to be careful about what they believe, based on what an individual on the internet says in a comment section, on social media, in a chat, so forth. So critical thinking is absolutely key, because if you listen to the wrong people, you may end up regretting that decision later. For example, when I was first starting, there were a lot of people talking about how evil the music industry was, and how you had to do all these horrible things just to get success in the music business. And if I had listened to them, I never would be living the life I'm living now. So when you hear people say stuff like this is dead, this is impossible, just question and challenge and experience these things for yourself. If you really want to make music, like for example, I'll just post it. BeatStars is more American market, I think. Not true. Like I said, Oh Boy is a top seller. He's not from America. He is German. The Crates, German. You're in Panama. Cash Money AP was in on an island. So yeah, it's false. But if you see a comment like that, it might influence you to make a decision that you may later regret. If you're maybe from Europe or Asia or Africa, Ramoon and Ransom are both African producers, and they're doing really well on the platform. So just comments that discourage you are comments worth challenging. I'll say that. But anyway, let's backtrack, because I think this is an interesting conversation. How long? And we've talked about this before, but how long did it take you to actually build a steady, maybe not a comfortable, but at least a steady income from putting beats online?
Yeah. So in the beginning, definitely wasn't comfortable. I was literally trying to make, I think my target was like make $30 a day. And then maybe I can figure out a way to just live really cheaply until I can work this out. And I think that's how I did it. So I would say it took a couple of years, man, of posting beats. Definitely took a couple of years. And in the first year, like I wasn't making any sales at all because my beats weren't that good. I wasn't used to making beats to put out to the public. So my stuff was like really weird. I kind of had to like tone it down a bit and make it a bit more useful for artists to rap to and sing to. So I went through that transition. And after that, as I said, SoundClick was really helpful to me starting out, and that kind of helped me piggyback off everything else and type beats as well. I was doing Wiz Khalifa type beats, Currency type beats, and yeah, I just started to rank for a couple of things and started making sales. And like I said, it definitely took a couple of years.
Yeah, it's. I think Mike Trampy said it was a 2 to 3 year game, and that's obviously if everything goes well. And I think the real X factor. I don't know how you feel about this, man, but we're in the era of everybody trying to make money off the internet, especially now with COVID. People are in the house. They're looking for ways to monetize their hobbies, especially if they're creative hobbies. And that could be anything. That could be selling beats. That could be OnlyFans. That could be Etsy. It could be eBay. But ultimately, sometimes I feel like what gets lost in those conversations, and I'm guilty of that, is we're so focused on emphasizing how to make money. What gets lost is a conversation about the product. And in our case, it's the music. It's the beat. It's the quality of the beat.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's always been my thing, just to focus on the actual craft of making beats and then making stuff that I love. And then if I love it, hopefully, fingers crossed, other people out there will love it if I can get it in front of them. So that's always been my thing with beats. And it's the same for samples as well. And I actually wanted to say this earlier when you said a lot of people see sample making as a shortcut to placements. And I think if you do see things that way, I think you're going to run into a brick wall pretty quick. For me, the most important thing when making samples or beats is collaborating with other artists and other producers that you really like, other musicians, and just making great art. And then hopefully great art will sell if you have the marketing right. So I think that the art is the first bit. And then after that, it's just getting it in front of the people that will listen.
And I think it also goes back to time too, because I think when we all start making beats, we think we are, Ski Beats. We think we're Timberland. We think we're Pharrell.
Yeah.
And that's the magic of creation. When you create something out of thin air, you love it like a child. And that's not to say that you're wrong for doing that, but it's also not to say that you're your best version of yourself at that point. So I think time really reveals a lot. You can listen to your beats from 5 years ago and say, oh, yikes, I thought those were dope, but there was a lot, and you can maybe rework those beats, but time gives perspective, right? So I want to talk about, so now people are talking about building a catalog. Sorry, go ahead. What is this?
No, I was just going to piggyback. Oh, is it bad? I was going to piggyback.
Oh, no, you're good now. You're good now.
Oh, yeah. I could have sworn my beats were really good like a couple of times in my career, and they really weren't when I listened back to them. And that's actually cool, because that's the evolution of being a creative, right? Is kind of listening to your old stuff and cringing at how badly mixed the 808s are or how quiet the kick drum is. It's just part of the process. As long as at the moment you're making it, you love what you're doing, and then you can move on and keep creating stuff you love, then I think you're going direct.
So over the last year, you've uploaded almost 200 beats to your BeatStars store. And that's all in addition to getting placements, marketing. well, making, marketing, and releasing sample packs every month, releasing an album, and more. How did you get to the point of structuring your life around making music such that you're able to be that productive?
Honestly, man, and this is such a corny answer. I'm not trying to be like inspirational, motivational, or anything like that. It's literally waking up as early as you can in the morning and working on music for 6 or 7 hours every day. You know, I wake up and make beats and make samples, and I'm not even trying to like make them good. I'm like, okay, this is like what I'm going to do for the first 6 hours of my day. And sometimes I'll make good stuff. Sometimes I'll make stuff that isn't good enough to do anything with, but it's kind of just what I do as a routine every day. I try to wake up at 5:30. Sometimes it doesn't happen. You know, I'll wake up later, but the important thing is first 6 hours of my day, I'm just making music. And then once I've got that 6 hours out of the way, sometimes I love it. And sometimes I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm going to get through this 6 hours. It depends on the mood, right? But once I've done it, then I start looking at marketing. I'll start looking at, you know, hiring people to do sample covers or looking for other session musicians. But the most important part of my day every day is that first 6 hours of creativity. And it's kind of crazy because the first 5-6 years of my career, I was the guy that would be up at 4 a.m. making beats, like just from the night before, you know, sleeping late. And I used to think that was the wave. And a lot of people still say that's the wave and I'll try it again one day. But for me right now, my most productive time of the day is waking up super early, getting all my music done, trying as best as I can with it, and chilling out, and then getting into, you know, what I would call marketing. So I would put it down to just a early morning schedule, as simple and as corny as that sounds.
That's interesting because we're just so different. Like I always do my marketing first before the creative stuff, and then I think, hopefully the people that are, and shout out, we have a full chat and a lot of viewers. This is probably the highest viewed session maybe so far. So that's cool. And we all get to see Dream Life on a tropical vacation and get jealous because I'm looking out my window and it looks like it's starting to snow, but it could just be a fat squirrel just shaking a tree. Anyway, so I hope that people who tune into these sessions just see how diverse everybody's stories are. There are some commonalities, but and I'm going to have him on. I'm going to have Dylan Graham on. But Dylan Graham recently posted his BeatStars sales statistics from 2020. $250,000.
Crazy.
And I'll tell you this. Dylan Graham does not market his beats in the same way that Dream Life markets his beats, or in the same way that I market my beats, or in the same way that the Crates market their beats. And all of us are doing this full time. So I'm not making $250,000, but and we're going to talk to him about you know, what strategies he's used.
Right.
So that's a session you don't want to miss. But the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of ways to get to that point, and it's really just about figuring out what works for you.
Yeah, but I would say the commonality every mention is the art is the most important thing. Am I back? No, I'm back.
Yeah, no, you're back. Yeah, and I do want to say, you know, the Crates are like the biggest producers in Western Europe. So artistically speaking,
they've done it. Like they've done it.
Yeah.
Like we don't see them in the American market, obviously. Right now, maybe we will, but in Germany, they're like the biggest producers in Germany right now. So that's.
Yeah, and I mean, I listen to beats from all the people that I mentioned. You, Dylan Graham, Oh Boy, Dilly, all the top selling producers, and I just think, why do I even try? Why I should just delete my DAW right now.
I get the same feeling, man. I feel the same when I listen to, you know, all the people you're mentioning too. I feel the same, and I think that's a really important thing to feel as a creative. It's I call it it's just motion. When you hear a really good sample maker or producer that you know is a couple of levels above you, kind of forces you to sit down and go, how can I get my sound up to that level? And I think as a creative, if you don't see other people that kind of scare you into working and trying to level up, then you might struggle to reach the next level. I mean, I could literally name 100 producers right now that I listen to, and I'm like, oh man, like they saw. I'm trying to work what they're doing. So I think that really keeps you on your toes.
So, okay, we just hit the hour mark. I want to respect everyone's time, especially since you're on vacation right now. But last question, you just dropped an instrumental album. I know BeatStars was a part of that. How did that go? How do people find it?
Yeah, generally speaking, it got received really well. BeatStars approached me to do a little beat. I think when they approached me, they just wanted me to kind of put a compilation of my beats together and release it on Spotify. I was feeling really inspired at the time, and I'm the type of guy that listens to a lot of beat tapes on Spotify. Like I have people that I look for, and I'm always listening to new releases. So I kind of wanted to step into that realm a little bit, and I got all inspired and made a whole beat tape from scratch, sampled only my own samples and your samples, stack trace, memory, and made a beat tape. We released it through BeatStars. It went on Spotify, Apple Music, and generally speaking, it went really well. People hit me up saying, yeah, we liked it. When's the next one dropping? So I'm definitely inspired to do more beat tapes. Has it led to more beat sales? I've no way of knowing, but I'd like to con myself into believing that it does. So I'm going to go ahead and just release more. And it's just cool to be able to say it, to be able to call my brother or my mom and say, hey, I just dropped the beat tape on Spotify. She has Spotify. She can listen to my music. Whereas before it was in a beat store, I can't really tell my family, yeah, log on to dreamlifebeats.com. It's kind of like, it's a bit much. So it's kind of fun to do. Yeah.
Okay, how can everyone follow you on social media? And we have a lot of producers in here, so definitely shout out your sample website.
Yeah, the Sample Lab on Instagram at the Sample Lab. Hit our DMs if you guys like the sound of any of the samples there. Hit the DMs, and we will work out some discount codes for you guys. We have, I think, 75 packs up right now. Live musicianships. I'm going to jump off the salesman shit right now and just say, yeah, appreciate the support. And my personal IG is at DreamLifeBeats. So hit me with a follow, and I'll definitely try to follow everyone back. And then my DMs are always open as well. Whatever questions you guys have, just hit me up. And there's a lot of people in the chat already that I speak to on a regular basis. So yeah, appreciate you guys.
Well, once again, thank you for taking the time out of your vacation to share that information. I'm gonna somehow convince you to come back sometime this year.
Absolutely,
because
whenever you want
to talk about.
Yeah,
I think I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface. So we'll be back. Shout out to everyone that's tuned in.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But I just want to remind everyone we're back Mondays and Thursdays. Every Monday and Thursday, 3 p.m. We have these free music business mentorship programs. They're all interactive. And Dream Life will be back probably later mid 2021. Thank you all for tuning in. BeatStars Awards are this Sunday, BeatStarsAwards.com. I'm looking forward to it. Congratulations, Dream Life, on your nomination. Congratulations to all of the people who are nominated.
Congratulations to you too, man. I voted for you, so.
Yeah. Hey, I nominated you. And some of the people in the chat are actually nominated too, some of the community members. So that's great to see. We will be back. Dame will be back next Monday. Check out his conversation with Hobson, by the way, because that's a nice.
Wow.
No one expected it to happen, and it's just cool to see adults sit down and discuss beef that affected so many fans, and then pull the veil back on the music business to really talk about what can go wrong, so we can all learn from their mistakes. That's on YouTube, and the MEC podcast, which is also powered by BeatStars. Trust me, we're going to be talking a lot about that because I'm sick of getting threats from Hobson fans just because I work with Dame. Yeah. Big year 2021. A lot of positive changes and moves in the right direction. Peace, everyone. Thanks again, Dream Life.
Peace out,
and
guys.
thanks to BeatStars for making this possible.